Okay. I'm on. Okay, the open wouldn't play for some reason. So here we are. Whatever that open says is I don't even know what it says. What does it say? Well, anyway, here we are. It's Tuesday, I think, February 25th. And Susan is joining us from California. Hi, Suze.
Good morning.
Oh,
good
hi.
morning. Good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
I don't know where to start. Why is that? I want to start with something that has nothing to do with anything, just because it's been on my mind. It has to do with dogs. One of the things that my dog does that just regularly sort of makes me unhappy because I completely anthropomorphize it, but is he sighs all the time. And I'm wondering, do other animals sigh? It is just, where he brings a toy and I say, no, I don't want to play. And he'll stand there for a while with it in his mouth, hopefulness, still exuding from his little bod. And then he'll eventually drop the toy. And then you'll hear, just a true sigh. Cats don't sigh. I've lived with cats. Horses don't sigh. Cows don't sigh.
Dogs are very good, real good communicators. Real good communicators.
But do they get that from
conversations with my dog?
Yeah, I know. But do they get that from us? I really started wondering. There has to be other animals that sigh, like maybe monkeys sigh, because it is. You can tell when he does it. It is it's a sigh. It's okay.
It means exactly what you think you mean. Oh well.
That's what I read it as. But it sounds, if I were to record his sigh and record human sighs, you cannot tell the difference. His sigh sounds absolutely human. It's an exhalation of breath in a sort of, where it's, and then that's the end of it.
I give up. Yep.
Well,
now, my dog, on the other hand, at 1:30 this morning, for no good reason, decided that it was time to go out. Oh. And my dog never does that, so I had to pay attention. So first I run downstairs and I open the front door in hopes that he'll just run out. No. So then I run upstairs and put on sufficient clothes that I can take him out. And I try to do it without a leash, and then I get scared. It's very dark. What if he runs? So then I go back in and get the leash, and then we go back out, and he starts moving again. Clear communication in such a way that we're playing. I know what we're doing right now is playing. That he's saying, I can't believe it. I got her up.
I'd kill him. I'd kill him. Are you kidding me?
His nose is down. He's chasing scents.
No.
I pulled up short and I said, you better have to go to the bathroom. And you better do it fast.
Oh, wow.
So he runs over to a tree. And he does something, and then I figure, well, if he didn't get me up for that, so we keep walking, and I walk him in a little circle to come in another door, but to pass it because nothing's happened, and he puts on the brakes to say, no, I wanted to play, you didn't want to play.
No, he wanted to play.
So now I'm muttering. So now I get it back in the house, and I'm muttering at him quietly, and I stomp back upstairs, and then he sits at the bottom of the stairs and starts barking.
Oh, Jesus. I will repeat. I'd kill him. repeating this.
So I went downstairs, and I was middle of the night, yelling at him and hauling him upstairs by his collar, telling him what I thought of him, and he got the idea, and then he laid down and sighed.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yes, he would have sighed. God, though, I mean, that's wow. Anyway,
He's never done that. I started thinking, is he blind? I've always wondered if he's blind. Now I'm wondering if he's blind and he really can't tell the difference between day and night.
well, he's not blind, but he's, they're manipulators. He saw an opportunity, he decided he'd give it a shot, whatever, and you fell right into his hands. But I wish my dog would stop sighing. It just, it makes me...
Well, it's not going to happen because he knows it works. He's communicating with you. All he's saying is, I really wish you would have.
Well, I know, and then I feel
It's not gonna
guilty.
change what you do.
I feel guilty. So, anyway, okay, enough dog talk. Oh, jeez.
But wait a minute, just in a positive on the dog column, I would like to say that since I have been in this climate, Dog and I have been walking usually about 12,000 steps before 11 a.m. And that's about 5 miles every day.
Well, don't expect me to come along with you. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of counting steps, that brings us to Katherine Johnson. I want to note her passing. This is that brilliant woman who John Glenn wouldn't head out with. No, it was Neil Armstrong, right? No.
Right.
Both of them.
Until she double-checked the computer, both of them.
Right.
They would have only her, redo all of the
right.
all of the
what the computer did, because they didn't trust the machine. Now, she was called a computer. That's what these women who did the math were called. They were called computers.
Well, because they computed.
They computed. And she was the one. Yeah, it says here that when Glenn made a final check of his planned trajectory when he was going to be the first American to orbit the Earth. He asked that Mrs. Johnson double check the machine's figures by hand, like she did. She used a pencil, a slide rule, and that's it in her head. And he said, if she says the numbers are good, I'm ready to go. What an amazing woman, and what an amazing life. Every astronaut from Alan Shepard, the first American in space who didn't even do an orbit, to Neil Armstrong, who walked on the moon, wanted her to double check all of the math, because if the math was wrong, they were dead. Incredible. But she used to count as a kid. She counted everything, and she counted her steps. She knew how many steps it took to get to school, to get to church. So, I mean, she was just born to do numbers. And when she got out of high school and went to a black college in West Virginia, the professor said, you would make a great research mathematician, and I'm going to prepare you for that career. And she said, well, yeah, but where would I find a job? And the professor said, well, that's your problem. Anyway, she found a job. 101. We never would have, my God, it was that movie that told us about her.
Yeah.
Although a book had been,
movie.
It was a very good movie. Hidden Figures. by the way, if you haven't seen.
But right, it took somebody to actually read that old-fashioned device called a book.
Yeah, someone wrote a book about her and the others. And I mean, at the time, it was NASA was a totally segregated facility. She never ate with the white folks. They were totally segregated, not just segregated by race, but also by gender.
Right, because they were women.
They were
There weren't any
women,
of those
and they
either.
were black.
That's why there weren't any bathrooms.
Yeah, you know, I have to say that the reporter Margaret Fox, who wrote the obit for her in the New York Times, has about the greatest opening sentence imaginable. So I just want to point that out and share it with you. It is this. They asked Katherine Johnson for the moon, and she gave it to them. Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. That was an exemplary, extraordinary woman. Now let's talk about a woman before we get to Bernie Sanders, because we're going to end up with Bernie. There's another woman who's been on the news, in the news, who is somewhat of a hidden figure. And I'm glad that it's...
I'm just guessing. Are we talking about Mrs. Thomas?
Yes! Susan is always right on the money. Yes. We are talking about Ginny Thomas, the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence. Is that a pubic hair on your Coke? Thomas.
Thomas. Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, she's been a pain in my ass for a long time.
Yeah, she is about
for years. She's
yeah.
been an inappropriate piece of you-know-what on the bottom of my shoe.
Well, she is really awful. And she is a real political operative. And it turns out, ever since Trump's been in office, she has been almost a one-person lobbying campaign to determine who in the White House staff was not sufficiently loyal.
Off with their heads.
Right.
Off with their heads. She's
been keeping lists. She's been not then alerting the White House. She has been suggesting and pushing other people who would be, in fact, loyal. She founded an organization called Groundswell, made up of other, I don't know. I see this as a bunch of crazed women.
Made up of her and her. It's a Groundswell.
Yeah. Anyway, so now that Trump is essentially purging everyone from the White House who is not sufficiently kowtowing to him, this has been outed. Her work has been outed, and the New York Times has a piece about it and says that in the White House, privately, some people say that the people she suggests could never survive any kind of legitimate vetting process. You know who she suggested to them? That loathsome, noxious cowboy hat wearing murderous sheriff of Milwaukee, David Clark. Do you remember him?
Oh God, yes, I do. He even finally embarrassed himself and had to disappear.
Yeah, he has disappeared.
Can't quite remember. Yeah, well, I can't remember what he did, but he did something that even embarrassed himself, and he had to disappear.
She was touting him.
And I can't remember what it was.
She was touting him. This is the justice's wife. She was touting him as somebody for a homeland security position. She's been pushing Fox News types for counterterrorism positions. And she has presented herself to the White House as someone who knows who is, again, someone you trust and someone you don't. You know, when you see people show themselves to be the kind of people, again, I'm just going to use Hitler's Germany, people who will just fall in line and immediately start acting like this, purity test, throwing people out who are not sufficiently loyal, the paranoid aspect of it, and that this is the wife of a justice is really strange. Because what about cases that might come up? Really, seriously, this doesn't sort of require at some point, I suppose it doesn't, that...
Well, I mean, here's Trump saying that, that Ginsburg and Sotomayor should recuse themselves from any cases involving him, right?
Well, I think Clarence Thomas should.
And to me, that's fine, as long as the rest of them recuse themselves from any case on abortion, because I sure as hell detect bias there.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that the point of being on the court is that you're supposed to be able to separate your personal from your professional, and you apply the law. Period.
Yeah, but there's a number of people on that court right now who don't do that. They're ideologues. That's all they are.
Yeah, I know.
That's why they're there. Oh dear.
I'm just saying, once you start playing it, once Trump plays that card, well, the other side of the card is my side of the card.
That's right. That's right. Oh God. Anyway, Ginny Thomas, as awful a person as there is, the Thomases in general. God, what an awful twosome. Anyway, so I must say I was surprised at the Weinstein verdict because...
well, here's my question. Can I ask a question even though I'm a lawyer? What could be more aggravated sexually than a rape?
I don't know how their law reads. But
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, excuse me.
Convicted of the two lesser charges, sexual assault and rape, but that's not the more serious of aggravated sexual assault. And my immediate reaction was, I don't know what's more aggravating than rape.
I think what it is, Susan, is it shows...
I think it's the use of the power. It's
No.
the use of the power.
No, I don't think so. I think it is that you literally are a sexual predator, that it is a pattern. It's not like you just all of a sudden in a lustful moment, took a woman by force. It's that this is your MO in general, that you're a sexual predator.
Well, I don't know how they could be hung on that. I mean, that's like just an accepted fact.
Well, that's how. I don't know.
I think. Well, no. In my own head, they got confused about this ongoing. The fact that these women seem to gain something at the same time that they were being.
Well, but this is that's what's so amazing about this, that they found, even though one of these women in particular,
even though there was an ongoing relationship,
even though she continued to see him, they still said, no, he raped her. So this shows an ability to, and the jury was a majority male. It was 7-5 male, female.
Well, I'll tell you what else. I'll tell you what else.
It's amazing.
I think that the time of the standard defense tactic is gone. That, as you point out, even a predominantly male jury, when they hear them going after these women and telling them that his behavior is their fault, they are even aware enough now to know what they're looking at. And and once you know what you're looking at, it's really unconscionable.
Well,
there's no other place where the victim is blamed for being shot, for being, for being run over by a car, but women and men get blamed for their own misfortune.
Well,
and that's the accepted legal technique: tear that woman down, shred her to bits.
Right. Well, but so somebody, a lot of people were thinking that because this was a more complicated case, that it's the kind of case that prosecutors in the past would never bring, especially up against someone as powerful with the legal power behind him that Weinstein could muster. And so there was a great deal of concern about this, and I frankly thought he'd walk. So I was surprised. I was really surprised. A law professor at Northwestern said this: it is a perfect test case of what happens when a culture begins to shift.
Well, and let me say that what made that culture shift is enough women standing up and saying, no, we really aren't going to take this anymore, and enough men willing to stand beside their women. Unless that happens, it's simply, I mean, there are more of us than them. All we've ever had to do is stand up and say, not anymore.
Stop being a hidden figure. I'm sorry, you didn't hear that.
But we have to keep saying it.
Well, yeah.
I heard that. Stop being.
But just because in this one case, in this one jurisdiction, New York, that doesn't change much of anything in a lot of other jurisdictions where women are still, not believed and guilty until proven innocent.
Again, I'm just going to keep saying it's because it's so intricately woven into the fabric of our culture, the women's place in the society, in every single aspect of every single thing we do. How we present ourselves, how we speak, how we feel. It's ingrained in all of us, chiefly the women. So every time a woman gets up the gumption, and we get up enough gumption and enough numbers to make change, that's remarkable, because we're really fighting against what seems to be our natural antagonistic to what we're trying to get done, goal.
Well, it's the only way it works, and the gay movement showed that the only way all of gay marriage happened, the only way this happened is enough gay people said, "Here I am." They came out.
We need unions, all of us. We need to be united in whatever way we are, for whatever our cause, whether it be women's rights. I mean, now we got attorneys general coming to say why the Equal Rights Amendment cannot be reinstated. We have men standing up and saying why they are against the Equal Rights Amendment.
Well, you know what? Ruth Bader Ginsburg said she doesn't think, she thinks they have to start over. Did you know that?
Well, yeah, I think we need a human rights amendment.
Well, here's why. No, you can't. This Virginia passing this ERA thing does not make it the final state, because there are states that passed it that would start hollering that they wouldn't pass it now. There are red states that passed it back then, so you can't do it. This doesn't work. You do have to start from the beginning, I think. Do you know what I mean? It's not just, we'll say. Yeah.
I mean, they can pass a law on repealing their prior stuff, I guess, but they'd have to go out in the states.
I don't know. I don't feel like I need an ERA. I don't.
Well, the only way to undo a binding vote is by another binding vote. I would think.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's get to Bernie. This is going to take me a while because I have it in three different. Somebody tweeted this in little pieces, so it's going to he says this: it is possible to hold several ideas in one's head at the same time. So here he goes. One, he says, I think Bernie Sanders is a terrible nominee who would be a bad president. He represents a lot of things I don't believe, and he has a substantial chance of getting crushed by Donald Trump. Okay, that is one thing he believes, and frankly, I'm sort of there with him. He goes on to say, oh, I lost one of them. He goes on to say, I am not certain I know what constitutes electability these days. So while my gut tells me his nomination is a terrible idea, I don't know that he can't win. That is correct. He finishes with, he is in all respects not my choice. I will argue against him as long as there is a chance of defeating him. But in the fight against authoritarianism, it would be a historic error, and it's one centrists have made before, to decline to make common cause with him.
Also correct. And I frankly think that if he has this much steam, that there are more of us that would hold our nose and vote for Bernie than there are Bernie folks
I
that
agree
would
with that.
say we was robbed twice.
Yeah.
And
they
so
go home.
It's even worse not to make him the nominee.
Yeah, but here he's all.
I think he's got to pick somebody good as vice president. I don't care. I'm just stuck on tweet number 3. I don't care. We've got a common cause. Any of them is better than
what we have.
than Trump. And as Mother says when she listens to Bernie, I sort of agree with everything he's saying. So, it doesn't matter.
No, I'll tell you where.
That gets past the Congress, so.
No, I'll tell you where Bernie will lose her.
On Israel.
Yes, and I want to say that Bernie single-handedly, in the last 2 days, has lost Florida. He's lost Florida because of the Cuban Americans there.
Cuban stuff.
And because of the Jews. I don't know. I mean, every Democratic president has had 80% of Jews, voting for him. His stance on Israel is such that there will be lots of Democratic Jews who will not. They won't vote for Trump, but they will not vote. Susan, I know it in my heart.
Well, you might be right, but here's what the other thing that I know.
How do you win as a Democrat if the Jews don't vote for you?
The political picture that we are looking at today is just that. It's a snapshot. And this is a continuing and evolving event. So what we know today is totally different than what we might know in 3 or 4 weeks. Let's let it unfold. I mean, we haven't got to Super Tuesday, so let's not anoint Bernie the winner. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. He's got a head full of steam, but maybe he'll spontaneously combust. Hell, maybe he's got a 30% chance of having another massive coronary in the next 2 years. Maybe he'll blow up. You don't know.
Yeah. Now that he's the front runner, though, we will see all of this crap, the commie crap, and the anti-Israel crap, and it's going to be so divisive. I don't know. I mean, it makes me queasy.
Well,
I don't.
I know. All I'm going to say is this is what our democratic process looks like.
He has mainstream Jewish.
Messy.
Yeah, there's mainstream Jewish organizations that I do not think of as conservative. American Jewish Committee, Anti-Defamation League have both made statements in the last 24 hours, just excoriating what he has said about his refusal to, appear at AIPAC. Now, I find AIPAC repulsive myself, but he says things that play right into the hands of people who are just, in their guts anti-Israel. I don't know. Wouldn't it be something?
Right.
So the first Jewish president will be the first anti-Israel.
Anti-Israel.
Or the first, there's so many. Or because he's the nominee and Jews abandon the Democrats for the first time in history, and consequently Trump is reelected, the Jews will then be blamed for putting in power this proto-fascist, authoritarian, anti-Semitic administration. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, Lynn, I was determined to be cheery and to make it last all hour, but this last little thing has just made me want to pull the covers over my head. Hey.
Okay, all right. And we don't want to talk about, did you see the little town in Belgium that had their festival? Did you see that one?
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, I wish I could send you a picture. It's extraordinary. When I first saw it, it's a carnival.
Is that the one where there's two guys sitting on bugles in the water?
No. It's the one where there are a whole bunch of guys dressed as grotesque caricatures of Jewish men. And to the point where they have actually they created these extraordinary costumes that make the Jewish men then into ants. So they have like legs coming off them. It's a grotesquerie beyond belief. And these guys, this character of Jews as infestors, as infestation, were parading around in this at the Ulst Carnival, and there was also a thing with something with the Wailing Wall being used. It was just flat out, unbelievable Nazi level anti-Semitism.
Anti-Semitism.
And the mayor refused to condemn it. Another group of men wore Orthodox-looking Jewish suits and plastic hooked noses and waved signs, some of which read, "Do not tell the truth about Jews." They were just festooned. This festival, by the way, UNESCO withdrew it used to be considered a World Heritage event, but last year they did this to Jews last year, and UNESCO, the United Nations organization, withdrew its recognition of it as a World Heritage event. That was last year, they had a float featuring effigies of Orthodox Jews holding bags of money. And one of the effigies had a rat perched on his shoulders. That UNESCO then withdraws their thing. And then this year, this town
doubled down. Yeah.
And the mayor says he defended this display as a mere expression of the irreverent spirit of the community. He has defended the right of participants to mock Jews as a form of satire, and he said the event was a display of unity.
Yeah, against Jews.
It's really something. I'm just saying.
And the rest of the country says nothing about this.
No, there was an interesting thing where the Belgian, and this I find really astonishing. The Belgian prime minister is a woman, Prime Minister Sophie Wilms, and she is supposedly a Jew.
Sounded like it, yeah.
Why? Because her name's Sophie? I guess.
Yeah, for some reason. Yeah, right. Sophie's choice, right? So
Well, she said it did damage to the country's reputation. That's not a very strong statement.
No.
And
it doesn't say it's wrong. It just says we won't look good. That's totally different.
It's whatever. Yeah, she says it damages the country. Belgian prime minister says the Jewish caricatures damage the nation. Oh, yeah, I guess. So this kind of crapola just keeps on a-coming.
It's everywhere.
All right.
It's everywhere.
All right. I'm sorry, I lost my my mail page. Okay. Here's something. This is uplifting too, Susan. I can't. Look,
let's just cough. Let's just you and I cough.
Okay, I'm sorry that I'm coughing.
It'll be more uplifting. No, I'm doing the same thing. I've just managed to get a cough drop in my mouth. So go ahead.
Okay. Oh, wait, I'll do one more Jew thing. Do you know that there's an organization that the White House, Trump's White House, has given White House press privileges to, that is just flat out anti-Semitic. And this is the same White House that tries to, bar people from legitimate networks.
Yeah, no PBS, no NPR, but this white nationalist rag.
Well, it's called True News. A definite anytime somebody calls themselves True News, it's like, Fox News, fair and balanced. Understand that it's the exact opposite. YouTube the other day permanently banned this True News from YouTube. Now, it takes something to get permanent.
Putting up any more of its lies. Go ahead.
Yeah, but then I read that and I think, oh, good. And then here's the next the next thing says, episodes of True News, however, still appear
available everywhere
on other YouTube channels. What the hell does that mean? How do you ban them and then it still appears? They also appear, of course, on Facebook and on Twitter. So they're there, True News. And they were banned for a number of reasons. But here's something, their founder is a pastor, a good Christian man from Florida. And he said in one of the videos that the effort to impeach Trump was, quote, a coup led by Jews to overthrow the constitutionally elected president of the United States. And then he says, I am going to tell you, Christians, you're next. Get it through your heads. They're coming for you. That's the Jews. They're coming for you. There will be a purge. That's the next thing that happens when Jews take over a country. They kill millions of Christians.
And where is his historic reference for that?
I can't imagine. It's True News. Jews take over a country and then slaughter Christians. Yeah. I don't know, Susan, what he might be referring to. But this is the kind of shit that Facebook won't take off, that Twitter won't take off, and that YouTube apparently won't take off either. But the White House, the Trump White House, has provided media credentials for True News. They let True News come with them to Davos. All right, that's it. You sound like my dog.
I know. You got me sounding like a dog.
Maybe. Oh, jeez. All right, Suze. I'm sorry, but don't we have to know this stuff?
Yeah, sure. It's important to know when the mob's coming down the street.
First they came for the migrants, but I was not a migrant. Then they came for the black males, but I was not a black male. Okay. This is out of Elizabethtown, Tennessee. This is the great United States of America. I have railed for a long time about these active shooter drills in schools, terrorizing children needlessly. But it turns out that's not the only thing that schools now are having to do. Listen to this. I don't know if you saw this, but I'm looking at a picture of kids in first grade, and they're in a class, and they are being talked to by a drug prevention educator who's made...
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so she's made a game out of this, but where somebody is dead or almost dead or lying on the floor or something. And she goes through this elaborate game so that she can teach these little kids how to administer Narcan to the adults in their lives who are lying on the floor, dying.
Who are dropping like flies. And the worst part of that article
is they get sent home with the Narcan.
They teach the kids.
They send them home with
they send them home with them, and they need replacements.
That's right.
They use them.
Here's the drug education counselor telling these 6 and 7-year-olds, it's just like a little squirt gun. You squirt it in mommy's nose. Yeah. At the end of the session, the little kids receive a blue zippered bag containing 2 doses of Narcan to take home so they can save their parents or older siblings.
Do you know how pervasive the problem has to be for that to be the solution?
Yep. In the past 3 years, the county, they're in Carter County, Tennessee, the county's drug prevention coalition has given Narcan training to an estimated 600 young children in after-school programs, in babysitting classes. They're trying to reach the kids because they figure they're the ones who are capable of saving these. It's beyond belief.
They're on the front line. Well, but okay, now I'm going to, first of all, it's beyond belief. Second of all, it's beyond tragic. Third of all, on the positive side, imagine the trauma of the child finding the parent and watching the parent die, as opposed to the trauma of the child finding the parent and
having to save them. Right. But then having to save them again. And having to save them again. It's unbelievable.
Well, it's unbelievable. At a certain point, the kid's got a choice. Ugh.
So, I mean, when you read the, if you try to stay ahead of news, this is what's coming at you. This is what's on the news. It's not on your cable station because they're just Johnny One Notes singing the same song hour after hour after hour. And what used to pass as newscasts are now given to soft news. Like you've watched the, NBC, CBS, ABC news. They start with a little bit of hard news and then immediately go to what used to end up on Entertainment Tonight.
Right.
So if you want to know what's happening, you've got to be truly proactive and seek out sources, and I guess online is the best place to do that. But of course, I don't know. Never mind. So I want to point out something. This is apropos of not much, but today when I was reading the New York Times, all of a sudden in the middle of the main section was this huge 2-page spread of pictures of African American bars in New Orleans. And the headline of the story is, for many black-owned bars, it's last call in New Orleans. And I looked at that and thought, wait a minute. Didn't I just yesterday or the day before tell you that at the August Wilson Center here, there is a exhibit of exactly this? And then I looked, and that's what this is. The New York Times has some of the pictures that are available right down the street here at the August Wilson Center. And at the end of the piece, they say that this series of photographs, which includes these images, can be seen through March 29th at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center in Pittsburgh. Well, if the New York Times was devoted 2 pages to it in today's paper, maybe you guys are...
It behooves you guys to get off your tushes and go
maybe
see
it'd
it.
be more interesting. And I just want to say that the photographer and the author of this piece, they also published the photographer's piece, that it's this Sunday from 2 to 4. He will be here to talk about this fascinating history of what these black bars meant to the black community and how they are disappearing. So, yeah, just wanted to say that. Oh, Suze.
Why are they disappearing now?
Well, somewhat it's gentrification. Somewhat it is a result of the flood, the hurricane, wiping a lot of stuff out.
It disappeared. Okay.
It says...
I'm sure part of it is due to integration.
No, and that's true too. It says... he's talking about this street that was all just black bars. He says, now, they were once owned and operated by black people who served black customers, and now they have white owners, and they cater to a mostly white crowd. This is an area that's close to the French Quarter, and it's disappearing. And he says that these black bars were, they were more than bars. They were safe spaces. They were cultural institutions. They were places where black people could go and actually get help. And he says some would support charities and put on the city's famous parades. They would pay for funerals. And this was all coming out of these bars. It's hard to believe, but they're disappearing. He says as the bars shutter, culture is displaced. And in New Orleans, that has come with a rising fear that venerable traditions could be subject to the same fate. So there you have it.
Well, they'll kill if they kill off all of that culture, they're killing off a great deal of the what draws tourism.
Tourism,
to
right?
New Orleans.
Well,
It ain't the white folks that gave them the music. It ain't the white folks that brought in the food. It ain't any of that. So if you throw out that culture, you're throwing out the essence of the city.
right. And we should also note, though, the city will be underwater in 50 years.
Yeah, smoot.
Well, let's see, Suze. We got 8 minutes left. Do we have anything?
I'm in the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen looking for a butcher knife.
Wait. Okay, so I follow this woman who's a journalist on Twitter, and I got to know her because she had an internship here for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and I can't remember how we encountered each other, but she's from Green Bay, and when you bump into somebody from Green Bay, you say, hey, yeah. And I saw that she tweeted today. She now works at a newspaper in Ohio. She tweeted, nothing exciting ever happens in Green Bay. And she linked this tweet to a story from the Green Bay Press-Gazette that said this: police are seeking a hedgehog who's been stolen from the Green Bay Wildlife Sanctuary. So that's the excitement, I guess, in Green Bay today. Who would?
Well, remember when the big story was the turkey that kept
the turkey
in traffic and they hit.
What? I'm trying to remember that. Didn't our brother want to go? There was a turkey that was loose and interfering with traffic. He was walking up and down
on the west side of Green Bay.
Yeah.
He was and very bossy and was like attacking people, and was impeding traffic.
But he got
it
hit.
Was like he had fun doing it. He would show up to do it specifically.
So he started drawing crowds.
Him and relocate him and.
Well,
right, but I think they finally relocated him to some less.
All right, so I retweeted this last night. Buttigieg said this about Bernie Sanders and about the comments praising Castro. Buttigieg said this: I don't want to be explaining why our nominee is encouraging people to look on the bright side of the Castro regime while we're going into the election of our lives. And I saw that, and I just tweeted it, but I tweeted it with this. This is the narrative that in Trump's hands is going to be brutal. Brutal. It's not just Castro.
Right.
It's Ortega and the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. It's another, honeymooning in Moscow or whatever the hell it is. It's about, it doesn't play well with older voters. But maybe Bernie...
And we're old.
What? And we're old.
I said, yeah.
I mean...
I just don't like the jerk. I mean, I'm gonna be real cerebral about it. Never have, never will. I just think he's a narcissistic asshole. But anyway, If he's a nominee, I'm voting for him.
Yeah, me too, but I think he'll be disastrous. I don't like his foreign policy. I mean, there's just so much about him I don't like, and I really, maybe he'll win, but I think, what?
Let's just stop here, and I'm going to say what I tried to say almost an hour ago. It's still so effing early in this process. Yeah, he's the front runner now. He looks unstoppable now, but let's just see what happens.
Well, who can stop him?
And then we've got Super Tuesday coming up.
The only people think can, but Susan, Super Tuesday has the same cast of characters. So who are the other possibilities? It's Biden? You got to be kidding me.
The votes. They're all splitting the opposition votes.
Bloomberg? Yeah. Are you kidding me? So there's a debate tonight. Are you going to watch it? They'll be going after Bernie for the first.
They have a good excuse not to watch it. Not to watch the last two. I think I have to watch this one.
Well, I think for the first time they're going to have to come gunning for Bernie, which they never have done. They've never done that. This will be interesting, I guess. I can barely take much more. I'm really. I'm sorry.
No, you know what? I don't even feel bad about it. It's too much. If this is a process that's designed to force human beings to tune out, they've done it to perfection.
That's right. That's right. And, we have to keep in mind that most people are not as inclined to pay attention in the first place as we are. Most people are not. So what they know of people and what they get are just little snippets. Somebody tells them something, this, that, and that's really it. And it'll be advertising.
Yeah, no. Much to my horror, I am the source of what's going on to a large group of people. I swear. I get phone calls.
Well.
And I think to myself, well, can't you just read what I read?
No, well, most people don't, and they don't want to. They really don't want to. So, whatever. I don't know. Okay, I'm too depressed.
Hey, Lynn.
What?
Don't be depressed. Think about this. Next week, this time.
Yeah,
I'm
but you're
not gonna
out.
Wake up at this.
Yeah, you're outing me, Susan. I haven't told my audience, but next week I will not be here. I'm sorry. I am going to take a break, and
it's my fault. It is my fault. I am forcing her.
I'm going
to come and visit.
I'm going to visit Susan and my mom in sunny California. And so I'm going to just take next week off, if you don't mind. God. And let's try not to talk about this.
Or to be clear, even if you do mind.
Well, but you know what? It's also Super Tuesday. So when I'm there, it'll be Super Tuesday next week, right?
Well, we could always call in on Wednesday.
No, I'm not. You kidding me?
Okay.
No, I'm not. I have nothing to say. It doesn't matter what I'm blathering about it. God help us. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't put that together. Oh, good. We get to sit around and play Super Tuesday together. Okay.
Okay. That's what we'll do. Yeah.
Okay,
Let's all.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
Cheer up.
Susan.
Have a
Okay.
good day.
Yeah, right. Goodbye. And I'm sorry. I'm apologizing because I am so down. I'm just down. Have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.